How many ideas have never seen the light of day simply because you didn't really know how to make them happen, or because you simply just didn't have the resources to pour into bringing those ideas to life? And you don't have to answer out loud, because trust me, I am one of those people who has an entire graveyard of ideas that have never been mentioned or probably will never see the light of day. But when people ask me now, how am I building a wellness tech company in this economy? I can confidently say on a hope and a prayer, because I, one, am not someone who is abundant in resources at the current moment. And I also don't have a lot of tech experience, but I have been able to build an entire app over the past several months, although I was lacking what most startup founders start with. So sometimes it's not all about what you know. It's not all about the resources that you have. Sometimes it's really just about how bad do you want it and how much thought and creativity are you willing to put into it to bring this idea to life. So let's talk about exactly how I did it. You know Hey friend, I'm Alicia Robertson, founder of DEW, that's DEW, a wellness and burnout prevention app created specifically for exhausted women entrepreneurs. And welcome to another episode of The Unhustle, where I am walking you through my journey to becoming a wellness tech founder while also trying not to burn myself out in the process. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe. If you've been here before, hey girl, I am so excited to talk to you this week. So in our last conversation, I talked about how a man questioned my decision of why I am focusing solely on serving women entrepreneurs and not all entrepreneurs. And he talks a bunch of stuff about me limiting myself and my business's potential, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. If you missed that episode, I will leave a link in the description. It was interesting to say the least. But something else that I have been noticing a lot lately, or maybe I'm just super hyper aware of lately, is that the more I talk about my founder journey, the more I'm talking about building this app, the things I'm learning, the things I'm struggling with, the more people have come to me or emailed me trying to pitch me their different services and masterminds. And I get it. On one hand, it's like, girl, make your money. It's no shade to these business owners for code pitching and putting themselves out there. But on the other hand, it's like, if you really paid attention enough to what I have been saying, then you would know that I am a bootstrapped founder, meaning I don't have a big VC check that I get to spend on this business. I don't have any angel investors. I don't have any parents or family members who can fund this company for me. Anything that I am building within this business is being solely funded based on my money that I have in my pocket. I am a bootstrapped founder. I don't have big checks coming in right now, and the app doesn't launch into mid-September, so I'm not making any money right now. So no shade to these companies or these people who are pitching their services, but girl, I ain't got it. I don't have it. But if you are an investor who is interested in pouring a little bit of money into a Black-owned wellness tech company, holler at me. But being bootstrapped was also a very intentional decision for myself. I have worked for a startup before, and I have seen how that dynamic works. And I did not want someone coming in trying to tell me what to do within my business just because they were giving me money. And I understand that is just how those VC relationships are set up. They own a part of your company, so they can tell you what to do. And I just did not want that for myself. And also too, I intentionally decided to bootstrap because I didn't want to have to wait until finding a partner or someone, a company to partner with, waiting on a venture capital check, having to wait on all of these things to be in motion before I could really put my product out into the world. I just felt like at the scale that I am doing this with the limited resources I do have, I could do just enough to at least prove proof of concept, to be able to at least prove that people want this thing before I start pulling in from resources. Because once you take that VC check, you have to pay those people back. And I wanted to make sure what I was building was solid. It was on solid ground, and it was actually something that people needed before I even think about taking a check from somebody. So again, basically, I am in the building phase. I am not making any money currently in the business, and won't be until the beta launch of the app launches in September. So anything that I am using to like run the business, to build the business, is all coming from like my personal account. So needless to say, I don't have resources to just invest in a lot of these, you know, services and things, but that I am being pitched. I am the only employee in my business right now, and I am running a very lean business, meaning I am only purchasing or investing in tools that I absolutely need. But despite all of that, somehow over the past 7 months, I have been able to turn this idea that I had in my head into a fully functional web app that I have been able to build with very little resources and also very little tech experience. Not because I'm lucky, not because I came up on, you know, something special. Like, there is really nothing extra or special about what I am doing. It is because I committed to figuring it out, and I didn't want this idea to die with the other ideas that I've had that, again, like we talked about before, will never see the light of day. So exactly how have I been able to bring this app to life? First, let's talk about the cost of building an app within itself. So I did a lot of research before I really dived into this project, and I realized that hiring a developer to like build out the app could cost you anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000, if not more, depending on how complicated your app was. And that didn't even include the design of the app. That is something else I learned, that the design of the app and the actual building of the app were two different things. No shade again to these entrepreneurs who were charging what they are worth, but I didn't have it. I didn't have it. I did not have it. So I had to figure out another way, because there was just no way that even if I did have $30,000 to $50,000 to just give, that I would feel comfortable pouring that much money into an idea that I wasn't even sure at the time if people wanted. So this is where we're gonna call Do version 1. It was a very pieced together version of what the Do app is now, because again, I needed to prove first and foremost that what I was thinking in my head could actually be replicated like out into the real world. And I also needed to prove like the proof of concept. I needed to know if this is something that women entrepreneurs actually wanted and needed, and also if it was something that they were willing to pay for before I went all out trying to invest my life savings or trying to pitch to VCs or whatever the case you needed to be. At the very least, I needed to make sure that this was something that was going to be a viable idea. So for the first version of Do, I pieced together a bunch of different tools. And this is what I mean when I say, how bad do you want this idea? How bad do you want to bring this idea to life? Because the first few versions of what you build are not going to be pretty, especially if you don't have the money, if you don't have the help, if you don't have the resources. You have to get scrappy, you have to get creative, and you have to be okay with that first version of your product looking very janky. So for version, let's say 1.0 of the Do app, I pieced together as many different tools as possible to get as close as I could to like a working prototype. So I used the Circle platform, which is an amazing platform. I used that basically to take payments. It was like the community hub. It is also where I stored a lot of the tools inside of the app, which were like the meditations, the guides, the videos, all those different things like that I used Circle for. And then for the actual capacity calculator, which I think we've talked about here, is a main feature of the app where people will be able to measure out their capacity each and every week. I used a quiz platform and I just embedded the quiz inside of the Circle app. And then for my users to be able to like track their stats and like keep up with their capacity every week or their mood every day, I actually built out an entire template in Notion, which is free, you know, for most of the features to be used. So I really pieced together a bunch of different tools, just kind of hodgepodge together, just because I needed to be able to see if people would be willing to buy into the idea, willing to buy into the concept, and to also just get like basic feedback on my overall idea. And trust me, it was a hot mess. Like looking back on it now, there's so much I have learned and changed over the past 7-ish months. It was a hot mess, but it allowed me to prove that what I was building was needed. I got 4 beta users at the time, which was incredible. And I actually was able to work with real people and get like real feedback on what was working, what wasn't working, what they thought about the overall concept, what they wanted to see in like future versions of the app. So that feedback during that first kind of beta run was so necessary, and it honestly did help to shape what I was able to build in this current version of the Do app. So that was Do 1.0. So now let's catch up to the current version of Do that we are working on. Again, keep in mind, I don't have a bunch of money. I am a single mother. I am my mom's caregiver. I don't have an abundance of money. I don't have any outside help. I don't have any investors. So even though I am moving to like this new, more well-formed version of the app, still keep in mind that I am also very low on resources. So I knew after the first version of like the Do beta app, we're going to call it again Do 1.0, I knew that that was okay with helping me to like clarify the idea. But in order for me to really get clear and get good feedback on the features, I needed to get as close as possible to what a final product or a final version of the app would look like. So not just putting together different tools, because even though that worked for getting clear on like my proof of concept, all of those different tools were kind of distracting. So it was also kind of hard to get feedback on specific features when a lot of those tools were not meant to do what I needed it to do, if that makes sense. So I knew with version 2.0, I really needed to narrow in and get clear, or I needed to narrow in and build something as close as possible to this final version of the app in order for me to like really get the feedback that I needed. And this is where having community can sometimes be even better than having all the money, to having all of the best tools out there, to having big checks flowing in. You know, this is where community really matters, because I'm telling my friends this, I'm telling my peers this, like, hey, I really need to figure out how I can build an actual app to get feedback on. But again, your girl does not have $30,000 to $50,000 to invest in it. So quite a few of my friends sent me links to all of these different like AI app builders. And they were like, hey, I saw this on YouTube. Hey, I saw this on Instagram. Hey, I saw someone using this on TikTok. And it seems to be fairly easy to do. So I did my research on a ton of different AI app developers. There are apps out there that specifically will help you to build SaaS platforms, mobile apps, digital games, digital dashboards. Like if you've ever heard the term vibe coding, these are the apps that make vibe coding possible. So after doing a ton of research, I ultimately decided to go with Lovable just because of ease of use and also pricing. So I did a lot of price comparisons and feature comparisons with a lot of these different app builders, and time again, Lovable kept coming up at the top. So I decided to go with Lovable and also use Claude for a little bit of extra help as well. But the problem is you have to know very clearly what you want to create or what you want to build before you hop into Lovable. Lovable and all of these other AI building apps or programs, they all run on credits. And credits is how you are billed. So once your credits are up for the month, you have to either buy more credits or you have to wait until the next month to when your credits are refilled. So it can suck up a lot of credits if you just think you're going to get into these apps and say, I kind of want to create an app that does this thing, and then it creates something and then you have to go back and tell it, no, 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 no. That is actually the opposite of what I wanted to create. So you really have to know what it is that you are wanting to build before you start telling Lovable what to do, because it will save you a lot of time. It'll also save you a lot of money. So before I jumped into creating any type of prompts in Lovable, I thought about the design. I spent some time doing like the entire brand guide, the entire logo suite, all of that, colors, fonts. I decided on all of that before I jumped into Lovable. I thought about the app functionality or the UX design. I thought about all of the back end connections. I spent several weeks, again, creating the brand guide. I spent several weeks just downloading different apps that were on the App Store and just taking note of things that I liked about their process, or like their onboarding process, or the way the app opened, or how it greeted its users, or how much people they were charging for their apps. I made note of every single little thing so that I could decide, okay, this is exactly how I want my app to look and function. I even went into Canva and designed the app screen by screen because I know what I like. Like, I am good at visuals. I'm good at branding. I'm good at doing the logos. I'm good at figuring out the color schemes. I'm good at that. But what I'm not good at is translating the design I want into code speak, text speak, in a way that someone who is building an app would be able to understand. Because I could say, I want that line to be a little bit thicker, but in Lovable or to a coder, you have to say, can you increase the size of that line by 24px? Like, it's a whole different language between the design and coding. So I figured that designing screen by screen inside of something like Canva, which I can easily navigate, was going to be the easiest, because then all I had to do was show those screens in Claude, or pop those screens into Claude one by one and say, hey, can you help me to create a prompt based on this screen that I've showed you, and tell me exactly what I need to tell Lovable in order to recreate that. And that's where having Claude came in so clutch, because even though Claude wasn't actually building the app for me, it was telling me how to translate my ideas into the language that Lovable and eventually, hopefully, you know, a developer would be able to understand. And I'm telling you, it sounds like a lot of work up front to do the research, to go ahead and have your logo, your colors, your fonts, to understand how you want your app to function on the back end, to get an understanding of the overall experience that you want your user or your customer to have. It sounds like a lot of work up front, and it is. And it could have been time that I spent like actually in the app, like making things happen. But it did make the process, I would say, a lot easier, because I was not building this big thing that I then had to go all the way back into step by step and make these itty bitty little changes, and making sure the changes, you know, were changed not on just one screen, but throughout the entire app. And I was actually able to see it by going slowly and going screen by screen. It was actually more helpful for me to like manage the overall project, seeing it be built screen by screen, one by one, than taking this big app that I would just let Lovable build itself, and then having to go back in and fix it, and then figure out what connections it made on the back end, and figure out what button did what and where it led to. So it was a long, lengthy process that I feel like was definitely worth it. If you've ever heard of anyone talk about like vibe coding, or if you've ever heard of anyone talk about I built this app within 2 days and now it's making me $1 million. One, it's probably not their first time building an app. They probably have some type of coding experience. Or three, the app is just not good and they are getting people for their money. I didn't want that experience. So while it has taken me a lot longer than what it will probably take other quote unquote vibe coders to do, I am really, really happy with how this thing is shaping up. And I cannot wait for Do version 2.0 in its actual fitting to be in the hands of others. Oh, and that also reminded me of a point too I wanted to share with you, that I decided to not put the app in the app store. So not in the Android app stores, not in the Apple app store immediately, because again of time and me wanting to prove proof of concept. I did not know going into this process that it could take so long for you to just simply get your app approved in these app stores. So I don't know why in my head, I think because I know it's easy to put music on Apple. I know it's easy to put a podcast on Apple. Typically within 24 hours, you can have a whole podcast up. But it doesn't work that way with an app. And now that I say it, it makes total sense. So I would have had to build out the app, which would have taken months, and then submit the app to these app stores. And it's not an immediate yes or no whether it's approved. It has to go through this strenuous process where they're checking the code behind the app, making sure you're not putting some BS up on their app store. And then if it gets denied, you basically have to go back, fix all of those changes that they're telling you is wrong with the app, and then you have to resubmit it and start that whole process over again from scratch. And I knew that with me doing this myself, I wouldn't be able to turn around and make those changes that they were requesting fast enough. So it would be just, again, months and months and months of me potentially not being able to put this app out into the world, me not getting active feedback, me not having active users, and me not making any money. So I knew that I wanted to get this again out as fast as I could. So as of right now, Do 2.0 version is going to be based mostly a web app, meaning you just go to the website, you log in, but it is of course user friendly. But I feel like, again, before I make those deeper investments into submitting the app to the app store, into hiring a developer, again, I need to make sure that people want this and are going to use this before I invest any more of what little life savings I have left. So yeah, that is the whole story. I don't gatekeep, but that is exactly how I am building an app with limited money, limited resources, and very little tech experience. But it has not been all easy. It's been a very long 7-ish months. So there have been bugs and glitches that I've had to figure out. There has been so much back end work that I didn't realize was going to take so long to do. So connecting Stripe, connecting Flowdesk, which is my email service, connecting the setup so I could be able to send out text to users instead of app notifications, making sure all of those connections work and testing them over and over and over again. It has been a lot, and some days I feel like I have my head wrapped around it, and then some days I am staring at the computer screen in complete disbelief at what I had gotten myself into. But I'm doing it. I am doing it, girl. And I am actually so proud of myself for pushing myself and for figuring it out, because again, I am probably just like you, or you are probably just like me. You have all of these ideas that you want to do, but a lot of them never actually see the light of day because either you don't know how, you don't have the money, you don't have the help, you don't have the resources. And I didn't want this idea, an idea that I felt was so orchestrated by God. I didn't want that to end up in my idea graveyard. It did not deserve that. I did not deserve that. And I wanted to be obedient. So I committed to figuring it out. And We don't hype ourselves up enough. I am very proud of myself, okay? Okay, girl, let me get off of this phone because I have been yapping for way too long, but I want to leave you with this. If you want it bad enough, please get creative and figure it out. Google it, ask for help, piece together tools, figure it out. Do what you need to do to figure it out. Take a night class, ask your neighbor, beg. I don't know what you have to do. Study the people who have done it before. Figure it out. Your ideas are too good to see that idea graveyard. They are going to change the world. They are going to change someone. They are going to change multiple people. But the only way that that can happen is if you stop making excuses and you figure it out. I don't have the money. I do not have the money. I wish I could show you my bank account right now. I do not have family members who can pay for me to figure this out. I don't have help. I don't have any connections in the venture capital world. But I am figuring this out, even if it takes me longer than what I would like, even if I have to study and ask questions and ask for help and put my pride aside. I am going to figure it out because I want this to work. I want it bad enough. So if you want it bad enough, please, 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 please promise me, look at me. Promise me right now that you will figure it out. Put it in the comments so that we can hold each other accountable. And before I go, don't forget that you can sign up for the waitlist for the Do app over at doingeverydaywell.com. We are launching to beta users, so only those who sign up for the waitlist in mid-September. And I cannot wait to show you guys this full app. Also, I don't want you to miss out on another episode, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And you can also subscribe over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify too, if you would rather listen to our conversations. All right, y'all, thank you so much for being here. And girl, I will see you next time.